podcast refreshments tonight provided by Mead in New Zealand. Mead just for you.
Welcome to the kiwimana Bay. Summer awesomeness in New Zealand beekeeping. Ho, 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 the joy of Christmas is on its way.
And this is episode 118 of our beekeeping show. And we are Gary and
Margaret.
And we love honeybees. We are kiwimana.
And we are beekeepers who live in the Waitakere Ranges on the wild west coast of Auckland in New Zealand.
And kiwimana is a place where the beekeeping community can share a conversation and connect. In this episode, we talk about
the report from the Auckland Beekeepers Club we attended the other weekend. It's a 70th birthday, Gary.
I know, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
And you recorded the one before it, didn't you?
The 65th.
Yeah, so awesomeness.
And the Manuka wars continue. And new tool in the battle against bee-killing bacteria. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Very scientific.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about tonight. And, we are in the hills of West Auckland, but it's not the only thing we do.
No, we build and sell beekeeping supplies. We also teach beekeeping to beginners and provide beekeeping services and advice. And we are the Bees Knees Club on Facebook. You want to join us?
Yeah, guys, and don't be shy. Everyone's questions and input is really appreciated. So, great to have you here. We know life is busy, so we appreciate that you have taken the time to join us today.
Thanks for being part of the kiwimana
Buzz.
And we also have known to go off on tangents, and we'll try and be focused tonight.
Try to be focused. Focus one course until successful.
That's right, and it's summer in New Zealand.
Hallelujah.
And the weather's been very hot. It's been like the average temperature's been about 26, and this means the bees are dealing with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what the bees are dealing with.
That's right. They sure are dealing with it, and they're dealing with it by making us lots of honey. Well, actually, it's not honey yet, but there's a huge, huge flow on, and the nectar is filling the cells exponentially.
Absolutely. So what's been happening at kiwimana?
Okay, well, gosh, Gary, you tell me what you've been up to, eh?
Well, I've had a kiwimana rewards program. We've set that up on Patreon. So the people that have donated at least $30 will get a free T-shirt or a hat or a cup. One
of the 3 items available, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a few other items on there, like T-shirts and stuff. So if you want to check that out, that's kiwi.bz/merch, MERCH. If you want to get a T-shirt for one of your friends, be the first on your street to have a kiwimana T-shirt.
Yeah, awesome. Awesomeness. And, we want to start acknowledging that we appreciate it. And as we go along, we thought we'd do the rewards program. So thanks so much, guys. And what's next, Gary?
Yeah, 3 days ago we had a Bees Knees event, and I was going along to speak about bees and talk to people about bees and meet some beekeepers. And I went there, and you'll be shocked to hear. I couldn't believe it. It was so quiet. I thought something's up here. Beekeepers are never, ever quiet. So I walked in, and they all yelled out, "Happy birthday." And Margaret had organised a special surprise birthday for me.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
Yes, it's my 50th at the end of the month. So, yes, thank you, Margaret. That was impressive. And thanks to everyone that came along from the Bees Knees Club and the kiwimana listeners. It's awesome.
Yeah, and thanks, guys, for all your donations. It was greatly received and appreciated. And, yeah, it was a good time. And Gary's going to be doing some activities now, aren't you, Dale?
Yes, I think I've got a free ride on a plane to learn how to fly, so that's going to be an introduction lesson. So that's going to be interesting, isn't it? I'll have to try and organise that.
Absolutely, and yeah.
And the podcast is now on Spotify. So if you use Spotify, search for Kiwimana and you'll see us there.
Hey, Gary, what is Spotify?
It's a music service. It's kind of like Netflix, but it's for music, and you pay I think in New Zealand it's $14 a month, and you can listen to any music you like, any CD or artist.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And then, but we're on there now as well, so that's even awesomest.
So that means that like at parties you could just pick your stuff and put it on. Is that right?
Yeah, remember we went to that barbecue at David and Terry Ann's? They had it.
Awesome. It was really good, eh?
Yeah, we had looked at the Spotify and we could see ours on there. So it was awesome.
Excellent. Okay, what's next?
Well, we got a bottle of joy from Tony and Hazel. They've started a new company called meatinnewzealand.com. So check them out. If you're in New Zealand, you can buy meat from them. And since it's the Christmas show, let's have a glass and try it out, eh?
Yeah, let's have a glass of joy.
Nice bottle. Hey, you gotta do a cheer first. Cheers. Merry Christmas.
Okay, Merry Christmas to you and everybody out there. Can I have a look at the label?
It's quite good, eh? It brings joy to my heart. It's nice.
Very, very lovely label here too. And it says here, a symbol of the love that unites heaven and earth. Oh, awesome.
That's nice. I could drink that all night. Oh,
yeah,
wait,
it's pretty much. What's the alcohol content on that?
I don't know. You've got the bottle.
It's 12.5%, guys. Just take note of that.
Yeah, so check out their new site, meatinnnewzealand.com, and tell them you kiwimana sent you. And alcoholic.
Okay, what's next, Gary?
Christmas show. Okay, we went along to the Auckland Beekeepers Club's 70th birthday event, as we talked about before, and we talked to a few people on the day, and here's what we recorded. Yes, we had a great day at the Auckland Beekeepers' 70th birthday event. We talked to a few people, and some were even brave enough to talk on the microphones, and here's a few people we talked to. Yeah, this is Gary here, roving reporter for the Kiwimana Buzz. We're at the 70th anniversary of the Auckland Bee Club. And what do you think, Margaret?
Yeah, I'm just preparing by eating a donut and having some food before we conquer the world.
Very good. Yes, it was really great to see Apiculture New Zealand represented by Karen Koss and Paul Martin. And let's hear a short part of Karen's talk.
Big congrats to you. I think you should be really proud of 70 years. If anything, you're more relevant and important today, given all the new beekeepers that have come on board. And I'll leave you with just a little fact. So of those 8,000 beekeepers that joined, over 50% have only been doing it for 3 years. So that tells me that we really surely do need an industry body that is there to help you guys, but to also help educate and inform that new generation of beekeepers that's coming through. So listen, what I have got some pamphlets. I've got Paul Martin, the hobbyist representative here as well, so please come and have a chat to me. I'm not going to talk any longer because, as I said, that food looks really good. Have a great day, and thank you so much for inviting me, and congratulations again. Thank you.
Okay, now we speak to Paul Martin, who's the non-commercial board member of the Apiculture New Zealand board.
I'm the non-commercial board member of the Apiculture New Zealand board, so it's the first time the hobbyists have had a representation on the national body, and I stick up for hobbyists at the board table, and we've been working very hard behind the scenes to develop education like you guys are doing. There's so many new beekeepers coming in that we need to make sure they're doing things right and doing things legally, and so we work very hard with bee clubs and with individual hobbyists to make sure that's working, plus just putting advocacy in place so that hobbyists aren't forgotten in the commercial world. Yes. We all want the same thing, but sometimes it's easy to forget that 3/4 of all beekeepers are hobbyists, and so it's very important that our interests are put out there at board level, and certainly Karen and her team and the board fully support what hobbyists need, and so I certainly don't have any trouble getting
across. Yeah, I mean, especially with the current disease situation, we all have to be on the same page, don't we, with AFB and things like that.
We do. It doesn't help hobbyists if commercials aren't looking after their disease, and doesn't help commercials if hobbyists aren't doing their thing around disease. Yep. For us to beat AFB, we're all going to have to be doing our bit.
The other thing is biosecurity. If new diseases are discovered, it probably would be a hobbyist that'll find it, won't it? Probably.
Potentially. Hobbyists spend a lot more time in their hives. And I mean, our organisation too, is obviously, as Karen was saying earlier, it does a lot of advocacy at government and regional government level, and that's just as important for a hobbyist as it is a commercial. If our people making the rules don't understand what you and I want as a commercial beekeeper, then the rules aren't going to be appropriate for us. So,
exactly. So, have you had a good time today then?
Had a great time. It's awesome. Yeah, they put on a good show.
What would be one of the main things that you yourself would be focusing on as part of your new role?
Unity, I think. We all need to pull in together, and we will make a lot more gains if we are all heading in the same direction rather than spending our efforts fighting each other.
Absolutely. And especially, having one voice as well is very important, isn't it?
Having one voice, and I think also the industry needs to realise that for a very long time we've severely underfunded ourselves. Consequently, we haven't made dramatic progress in research. If we want to be a big export industry, which we've rapidly turned into, we're going to need to actually put some effort into research. We're all going to need to fund it. We can't have small sectors of our industry funding all the science. We need to all fund the science so that A, we do hopefully beat AFB, B, hopefully we get on top of Varroa in an effective manner, and C, if we get something new, which will be worse than all the things we've got now, you can just guarantee it, that we actually are prepared and can do something about it or deal with it quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we spoke to Mark Goodwin last week. We met up with him in Hamilton, and he's doing some really interesting research about AFB with a quicker test and stuff. So that's going to be awesome.
He is, yeah. And some of the technology coming online, we should be able to deal with some of these diseases, but it all takes money, and a lot of it. And I guess our industry's in a process of growing up. We've come from a fairly backyard, sort of fairly small industry to now a very big export industry, getting bigger, and we need to realise that we can't fund that size industry the way we've always funded it.
Thanks for coming today, Paul. It's been awesome to talk to you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Gary from kiwimana talking to David Smith.
Hi.
So what happened with your queen?
Oh, no. So it was a bit interesting yesterday because we were just checking some splits, and we found one where we thought might have an emerged queen because it looks like they're ripping down queen cells. And then we actually found a queen cell that had been damaged and came back and had a look at it. I saw something. I thought it was a grub, like a waxworm or something, but it wasn't. It was the wrong colour, and then it was moving, and I watched it, and it was actually the back of a queen, juvenile queen, backing out of a broken cell.
Oh, okay. So it was an emerging queen.
Yeah, but emerging backwards because the cell had been broken, so coming out the wrong end.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't know whether it was going to be viable or not, but we caught it, threw it in a little container with some bees, and it seemed to come right over the next half hour. The bees put a bit of honey in there.
Oh, well, time will tell.
Yeah, so it was quite amusing. Yeah.
We had a poor sad nuke that didn't have a queen, so we put her in there.
Oh, okay. Well, she might emerge out, eh?
Might do. It might have been a day too early. But she looked like fully formed, but very small and light coloured.
Yeah, well, she might just because she'll be a virgin, they are a bit smaller. So yeah, it might be all right. Thanks for your input. And first up, we're going to talk to Karen Cross. Okay, we've got Karen Cross here from the
Apiculture New Zealand. I'm the Chief Executive, and I've just had a wonderful day at the Auckland Beekeepers Club's 70th anniversary. It's been a fascinating day. I've met lots of very interesting people, and I just love the fact that this club has so much of an emphasis on education and learning. Well done to them, and I look forward to seeing them in another 10 years for their 80th.
Thanks, Karen. That's awesome. What's Gary here from kiwimana, and we've got Martin here, the president of the Auckland Bee Club. What would you like to say to the people in 25 years?
Good luck.
I hope we still have bees. It's been a great day here at the Auckland Bee Club, the 70th anniversary. I was at the 65th too, I think. You were there, eh? Were you at the 60th?
We had a 60th. I wasn't at it though. It was before my time. But I think I was at a 65th.
Yes, I was there too. Yes, I was good. Oh, well, thanks for organising this, man. It's awesome. And thanks for the sausages.
Thanks for coming.
No worries. Okay, it's Gary here. We've got Tony, and he's got a new announcement to tell us about. What have you launched recently there, Tony?
Our company meeting New Zealand, we have now just been granted a off licence for remote sales.
Fantastic.
So as well as our wholesale outlets, we can now sell direct to the public. Deliver anywhere in New Zealand. Very reasonable prices.
That sounds fantastic, and it is the greatest mead available in New Zealand. What's the website address?
The website is meadingnewzealand.com.
Fantastic, guys. So get out there and buy some mead off Tony. And it's over 18 you've got to be, don't you? Is that right?
Definitely over 18, yes.
Thanks, Tony. Cheers. Okay, now we've got a bit of a character from the Auckland Bee Club. It's Andrew with a song. We had to cut the beginning off because it's a bit politically incorrect, Andrew. But anyway, it's all good. It's a bit of a laugh. So here's a little song from Andrew about bees.
Good afternoon, so bloody lazy was me. Off into the woods he'd go, just to have a jolly good snooze under a tree. Long time a bee, making the snow. Go away, you bumblebee, I ain't no rose. I ain't no very foul, hop off my bloody nose. Hop off my nail organ, you can stay there. If you want some fun, hop on my thumb, but you won't find honey there.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Did you enjoy that little presentation I did?
Yeah, good on the spot reporting there, Gary. Well done, you.
Yes, thanks. There were some good people there to talk to. We unfortunately didn't talk to everybody, but most people we talked to, so that was good.
Yeah.
And that Andrew's song was pretty funny, wasn't it?
He's
a bit of a crack up.
Interesting, quirky Kiwi.
He's one of life's characters. Anyway, Margaret, what have you been up to? I saw a whole lot of students walking around the other day, so they seem to be interesting.
Yes, we had the last...
Some were walking around more than others.
Some were. Anyway, yes, it was the last beekeeping course of 2017, so we'd like to thank all of those who attended.
Now, there was a great bunch of people, and we'll hopefully catch up with them over the summer months when they start getting into more of their beekeeping journey, eh?
That's true.
And what's the story here? You were stuck in the driveway. There's a video about this, but I'm not sure if it's going to be released to the public.
I don't mind it being released, but geez Louise, what a day I had. It started on a rainy night. As the rain was falling down, I was moving hives in the apiary and the rain was falling and I was soaked. But anyway, 2 nuke boxes and then 2 other boxes that were actually in wooden 7-frame boxes, and I moved them all, ratchet tied them up, put them in the, ready to go. Then I did that about 11 o'clock at night as the rain poured like nobody's business, so it was soaked. Then got up at 5 a.m. and moved them into the car and thought everything was all sweet, peachy keen. Then had the trailer on the back because we had some gear donated to us to give to some deserving beekeepers. So I was taking them to be delivered, and so the trailer was on the back. The nukes and the bee boxes were in the back of the car. And as I drove up the driveway, I lost control. So
you lost traction, didn't you?
Yeah, I lost traction, man. And my car's a front-wheel drive. It's not a four-wheel drive. So it sort of, one angle ended up being quite huge. So I tried to go forward, but there was no traction. And then as I went back again, the trailer went quite skew-off. But nothing was injured in terms of me or the bees or the car or the trailer. But we were stuck. So we had to get a tow truck in.
Yes, and then as you drove down the road, one of the nukes fell over, didn't it?
Yeah, then I went up. He towed me out of the driveway, and Gary's got footage of that. And so I got out, and I thanked him, and then got back in the car, then went up the road and turned around to come back because going that way is not the way to go, and then stopped on the side of the road to just check everything, and one of the hive boxes had moved. So the bees were starting to come out. So, oh my giddy aunt, I had to deal with that. By the time I got there was a whole lot of bees there. But anyway, the installation went well and the bees are all set up. And yes, and then I backed the trailer down about 100 metres. I was very proud of myself, down a little gravel lane and into the driveway and drove off home. And the boys were very impressed with my efforts.
Fantastic. And AFB checks are finishing up now?
Yes, I've still got a couple that we're checking up on, and most of the forms have been signed off. So thanks, guys, for all your time and flexibility, because sometimes the weather doesn't always play its part. But lately, we've been able to get through them, and we had a bit of a storm the other day doing it. So there's big thunderstorms, and then suddenly the heavens opened. Then we finished doing one hive, and then it stopped. And then we did the next hive, and then it just bucketed down. It was just incredible. So, a lot of fun was being had last week. Well, I had a good time.
Yes, indeed. And bee colonies have been selling out like hotcakes. That's good.
Yeah, that was fantastic. The beginners selling beginners bee colonies. So that's cool. And the nucleus colonies are all sold out as well. So far, everyone's happy. I think that's what it's kind of like at the moment. I think the season is so awesome. Awesomeness bananas.
It's really picking up, isn't it?
Colonies are really collecting heaps of nectar. So it's been fantastic. The breeding side of things for me personally have been awesome. The bees have all mated well. They're laying well. So I'm very happy and excited. And there is one thing that I am finding at the moment as we come into this heavy nectar flow is that the management of nectar is a real issue and can cause problems for you as a beekeeper if you don't manage that properly. The reality is that the difference is absconding as opposed to swarming.
Yeah, because aren't you finding that there's a lot of nectar being put into the brood area, of the hives?
Because the flow is so heavy at the moment, you're absolutely right, Gary, that what's happening is that the brood frames are getting absolutely chocker with nectar. So the queens are deciding to leave because there's nowhere for them to lay.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you give the girls lots of space, guys and girls. Make sure you lots of brood area for the queen to lay.
Yeah, I think the reality is that swarming generally happens at the beginning of the season as part of the genetic instinct for the queens to spread their genetics, whereas absconding at this time of the year or late season swarming can be two issues. It could be the nectar within the brood, or it could be varroa, heavy mite load. So normally when it's absconding, you'll go back to the hive and there'll be no eggs, there'll be no queen cells, there'll be just honey and nectar and no bees. Whereas a swarming situation, they will
they'll leave bees and a queen cell.
Yeah,
usually,
they'll leave bees and larvae and eggs and queen cells. So yeah, that's the difference between those two.
Yeah, in the USA is starting to get snow there in some parts, and I'm guessing all the bees should all be packed away for the winter.
Yeah, so the opportunity to listen to the podcast from Kiwimana is open to you guys, and I hope that you're enjoying, some hot chocolate and preparing for the festive season.
Absolutely. And we saw a video of Yappy Bee Man, and he actually found it got a swarm the other day. That's
wow,
unusual,
that's amazing, yeah.
But he's in Alabama, so it might be a bit hotter there.
Yeah, isn't South Carolina where, South Carolina? Isn't
yes,
that warmer?
South Carolina is where South Carolina is.
You know what I speak, Gary.
Yes. You mean Charlotte?
Charlotte, yeah, she said they have quite temperate climate there too. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit more north than Alabama, but aren't they? So they're probably a bit colder. I don't know.
You're better at geography than me. But anyway, what's happening in the UK? Have you heard any news from there?
I haven't heard anything. It looks like everyone's on holiday, so I don't think they're doing much bee stuff. They're just out and about.
Yeah, it's been like that in New Zealand with all this hot weather. I think everyone's been going to the beach and heaps of people swimming. I went out to do some beekeeping work over by Mission Bay near there, which is right in the Auckland harbour area near there. And wow, it was fantastic. Everyone was swimming and the kids were playing. That was on Sunday. Was it Sunday? No, Saturday. Geez, it was great. And wow.
Oh yes, Saturday I was doing bees as well. I was looking at those swarms we've picked up.
This is all about Margaret.
I know, sorry.
But yes, you were working on your apiary. So what's going on with your apiary?
Very weak, but two of them. One was called, we're calling it the Gatecrasher 1 because it just turned up, and another one didn't bring any booze or anything.
Yeah, no invitation.
And the other one, we had a small swarm that we picked up, and they're doing really well. I got about 4 or 5 frames of brood.
Awesome.
And, so yeah, they're kind of right. I think they'll be fine for winter.
Yeah, my 2 swarms, one is really performing really well and is starting to really expand. I haven't treated them yet. I don't usually treat my swarms for until I see issues. But you don't really want to wait for issues because there's a bit of a brood break while they build the comb. So that one is going really well and they're collecting quite a lot of nectar now and the population is booming. Then there's the smaller one, that's a darker queen, and she's doing all right. She's only in a 7-frame box, so just like your one, slowly building up. So have high hopes for them as well.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. So that's where things are at the moment, Gary. So we should all be enjoying our bees. That's the best thing you should be doing.
Okay, let's do a blog recap. Top 3 blog posts from last month. Number 1.
And you chose these guys, by the way.
Yes, based on traffic and people listening. So Manuka is a Maori word, so there. That's number 1. Very
cool
popular.
Bananas, yeah.
Very popular in Australia, this one.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Number 2, beekeeping in South Carolina with the lovely Charlotte. That was a very popular one as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's a woman of my own heart, really.
Yeah, very, very similar philosophies. It's good.
Yeah, excellent.
And number 3 was the 6 best methods to create a bee-friendly garden.
Yeah, we should all be looking at this. Yes. Because if we, like Gary always says, if you can't keep bees, keep a garden.
Absolutely.
Okay, so excellent, guys. Well, good taste. Obviously, Manuka is the Maori word, is the top one, so that's one of ours. So we're quite happy about that. And next is what products have I been using in my work lately? Well, to be honest, the frame holder. The frame holder has been awesome because I use it when I'm managing space. And at the moment with all this nectar flow, I've been using it a lot to take the frames out, open some space so I can work the hive a bit better. And also a spare hive box with a bottom on it so that I can put frames in there too if I'm thinking about taking them off for honey or I'm doing some honey management. So yeah, that's what I've been using lately, guys. And of course my bee suit and gloves, but that's pretty standard all the time. So what about you, Gary? What were you using over the weekend?
I have been using a new idea that I've come up with. It's called a camping chair. You take it with the apiary with you, you stick it out down by your car, you get your bottle of water, and when you're resting between hives, you sit in a nice camper chair.
Oh, sipping your water.
Yes.
Maybe you could take a bottle of joy.
No, because I have to drive home.
Oh, that's true.
Beekeeping news. News you cannot lose. And this story was provided by
Lisa Morrissey. Lisa has been supporting the kiwimana buzz since October 2016, and we thank Lisa for all her help, and we hope that you and Alan have a wonderful Christmas. So all the best to you guys, and yeah, just awesome.
And thanks for the cupcakes on my birthday.
That's Lisa's great at making cupcakes, and she also did them at the 70th at the Auckland Bee Club. And wow, what a stunning cake! And you'll put some photos out for that as well, Dale?
I will. And the first story: Pleasant Point beekeeper warns of the risks of gold rush mentality. Pleasant Point apiaries beekeeper Paul Bartram is concerned that the new operators in the Canterbury region may not have the skills to identify American foulbrood in colonies. And what's the quote there?
Okay, Paul Bartram says that he was concerned that other less professional apiarists might not take such swift action. He's talking about a disease that's been here since bees first came to New Zealand, AFB, and some areas have had really high incidences of it. Others have been pretty good. But he goes on to say that as an experienced South Canterbury beekeeper, he's warning that the risk of the gold rush mentality around the Manuka honey could pose a real threat to the apiary industry.
Absolutely, because it says here, this is the notes I got from the article, 50% of the country's beekeepers, that's New Zealand, have fewer than 3 years' experience.
That's interesting because the first year, you know you're a novice, don't you? The second year,
you know everything.
You know everything.
You should write a book then.
And the third year, you know what loss means.
It's true.
So, yeah. So, going on, what was that other one?
And figures from Apiculture New Zealand show the number of hives in New Zealand has nearly tripled since 1998. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's so true. New Zealand beekeepers are really being born.
A lot of older commercial beekeepers are concerned that a lot of people are very new to beekeeping and they don't really know how to manage big operations or even a beehive. And their fear is that people can't identify American foulbrood and other diseases.
Yeah, I've had a few incidences when a beginner has asked me to check their hive for AFB and it's been sac brood. And also, it was interesting when you talked to the guy from AppNZ. He was saying that it may well be, or you said that it may well be a hobbyist that finds something that hasn't been, identified.
I think a hobbyist will probably find things new. Weren't the ones that discovered veromots first?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so. I mean, because they're in their hives more. They're being more careful, hopefully.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's so true. And so I think that there's some validity in this question and this concern, because the problem is that they're so focused on producing honey, they forget looking after their bees and the risks that are relevant to New Zealand. So what is some of the feedback we got from this, Gary?
Michael Bauer said, how the hell are new beekeepers supposed to get involved? Well, I think they need to, I wrote there, I guess, talk to local beekeepers, but I think probably just educate, Michael, and get education, learn what AFB looks like. Maybe do your deck check before you start going commercial. So that would be my recommendation.
I think that's really important. Understanding the afb.org.nz website, where there's lots of photos, they give you lots of advice, they talk to you about the differences between the different diseases. So I think really get yourself educated, and like Gary said, go and talk to local beekeepers. Find a local club and start, doing some work that way. But the rule is now that you have to do 2 years of beekeeping before you can do the AFB recognition course.
Oh, okay. And one good idea is if you do know some local beekeepers, Michael, just you could also offer to work for them for the day just to see how they do things and what get some great education from them if you're a beginner.
Yeah, that's true. And what does Daniel say?
Daniel Walker says, "Got to be in to win." That's true. But you got to be careful too, Daniel.
He means the gold rush.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, be in there, but be educated.
But we all know the story about the gold rush, don't we?
Yes, that didn't last too long, did it?
And who made the most money?
The stores.
It was the people that sold the shovels. Anyway, let's move right along.
Oh, yeah, and that just reminds me that a family member said that their family made the wrong decision. Instead of hunting for gold, they hunted for kauri gum.
Oh, okay. Because
they didn't get rich.
No, exactly.
Anyway,
that's a tangent.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. I went off on a tangent, guys.
The next story is Trans-Tasman War over Manuka has got extra players now. This battle of words is getting more and more sillier, and I'm thinking. Lindsay Burke was interviewed in the media in Australia. The full interview is below on the show note. But it's enlightening, and we'll just play this little quote, and you can see his arguments. Tasmanian Beekeepers Association President Lindsay Burke chaired the first meeting of the new Manuka Honey Association, which was formed in response to New Zealand honey producers' attempt to trademark the word Manuka. The fact is New Zealand only has one species of Manuka, whereas Australia has more than 80, including a number of sources with exceptionally high levels of antibacterial activity, says Paul Candler. Anyway, let's play.
Yeah, we have some information that argues that point very strongly.
Let's play this short excerpt from Lindsay.
Okay, is part of the problem here, Lindsay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the etymology of the term Manuka. What's that? It's a Kiwi term, isn't it?
Well, it's the name of that particular honey. You have eucalypt honeys, and, no doubt that's distinctive, and leatherwood honey is very distinctive.
Yeah,
and Manuka honey is very distinctive. No matter which one it comes from, it's very distinctive honey.
But the actual word itself, Lindsay, Manuka, M-A-N-U-K-A, what's the origin of that word?
We don't know, because we've been using it in Australia for 150 years.
It strikes me as a Maori term. Could that be the part of the problem here, Maori? Lindsay, we've inadvertently adopted a Maori term to describe our honey.
Well, the English did this years ago when they decided to call apples and pears. So pears, I mean, it is a word for it's a generic word. We can't take that away.
Right.
And the New Zealanders are trying to make it Maori now. They're putting a little dot on the top of the A.
Can we stop this now?
Like that. But it is Manuka. We've even got suburbs in Canberra called Manuka.
It's finishing now. Why? What's wrong? I can't believe that we're putting a little dot on the A to make it look like a Maori word.
Oh, for goodness sake. I tell you what, man, I could go off on a real tangent right this bloody minute. I tell you that now.
The thing is, his argument is, we've been using that word for 150 years, so it's ours. What a load of crap.
Oh, my goodness. Gary, you're getting so...
Well, I mean... Yeah.
Angry.
Oh, I'm not that angry, but I think the logic's really silly. And it's saying, you can't copyright the word apple because it's a generic term. I agree, apple is a generic term, and honey's a generic term.
Yeah, just
Manuka's
the word
name
honey.
Of it. Manuka is the name. It's honey.
It's a Maori name of our tea tree in New Zealand.
And he's saying later on, if you listen to the whole interview, which I recommend you do, he says that we should rename our Manuka honey to Kiwi honey.
Well, then in saying that, he should call his honey Aussie honey and leave it at that, because Kiwi is not actually... That is not a generic term. That's actually our native bird. But we call our local population Kiwis.
Anyway, I recommend this interview with Brian Carlton. It's interesting. It's from, I think it's from a podcast called Tasmania Speaks.
Interesting, yeah.
Anyway, we've got some feedback from Paolo.
Hey, before we go ahead, Gary, just breathe in deeply. It's all right. It's all right.
I'm going to have some more joy, then I'll be happy again.
It's all right.
Okay, so we've got some feedback from Paolo in Portugal. He says...
Silly wars when the honey can be properly tested and labelled with all the main sources of nectar so the buyers can buy their favourite.
Yes, Manuka, New Zealand.
That's right.
Jason Sanford says...
The plant he is showing in the photo looks like a Kanuka to me.
And Wayne Parr replies and says, Yep. So you get Lindsay, you get your Manuka from that Kanuka tree. That's awesome.
What does Andrew say? MJ.
Am I correct in saying Manuka is a Kiwi word, but the plant is not native to New Zealand? Yes, and Wayne says, and it's true, it is native to New Zealand and Australia.
But they've got tea tree over in England, haven't they?
They've planted it there. And also Marcus Barman, who's we've met, haven't we? Came here once.
Yes.
And he says China and Mexico are also starting to grow Manuka.
I still go back to the fact that Manuka that is growing here in our soil is our tea tree, and the Maoris call tea tree Manuka, and they call the Kanuka because it's not the same. So a tea tree grows to about how many metres?
Oh, tea tree? Oh, less than... What sort of tea tree?
5 to 10 metres.
Do you mean a Kanuka? Because Kanuka is about 16 metres.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, that when we're talking about Kanuka grows to about 15 metres, and we've got a lot of Kanuka around our property. And the Manuka trees grow a lot lower, 5 to 10 metres.
6 metres max.
Do you
Manukas,
think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. So, guys...
I wrote an article about it, remember?
Yeah, we've got... Thanks, Paolo. Who else was there? Paolo,
Andrew, Wayne, and Marcus.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Thanks for your comments, guys. It's awesome.
More comments about the war? It's not really a war, everybody, let's be honest here.
Well, maybe not. In one sense, it's all about work, isn't it? So the work that is being done in Australia is they are saying what, Gary?
I think they're riding on the marketing that's happening. Because if you listen to this full interview, Lindsay even admits that we're really good at marketing it. So there you go. So we're good at marketing it, so they've just jumped on the back of the bandwagon.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, there needs to be some compromise, eh? Maybe call it Australian
Why
Manuka.
does there have to be a compromise? They are just trying to say that this particular person is saying that we've basically taken something that belonged to them, but it's not. The facts don't stack up, I'm afraid. It's all hearsay and opinion.
I think,
it's not
to be honest,
real.
If that's his evidence, as someone that used to work at a law firm, he hasn't got a hope in hell.
It's flawed evidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, Gary.
Let's move on. Australian growers are working hard, have cloned strongest medicinal Manuka honey available and produce it on a medicinal honey plantation.
This is a good article, Guy. It says the honey produced by the Australian native leptospermum is being tested for dihydroxyacetone, and cuttings are being taken from the best producers. So if you read this article, guys, you'll be able to find out that this is just research and they have nothing to back it up yet.
Oh, I think they're growing stuff, aren't they?
They're growing it up, but they're just trying to find out what they can do. So
they're trying to find the plant that produces the most DHA to get the best Manuka, or we should call it Australian jellybush.
Melaleuca.
Yeah, Melaleuca. And so Australian promoters are
reported to be working on a project to clone the strongest medical Manuka honey available and produce it in a medicinal honey plantation.
Co-founder Matt Bloomfield, chief executive of GatherBy, that's the name of the company, says the company is using evidence-based approach working with scientists from the University of Sunshine Coast in Queensland. And the company's plans to sell its chemical-free, raw, bioactive Manuka honey and products on the local and export market.
So that in itself says to me that they're calling it Manuka honey. It's, this is making me so blimmin' angry.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, and Phil Evans, what does he say?
If it is grown in Aussie, it is not Manuka. Here. It pisses me off that they want to steal that brand and name. Manuka is a Maori word and nothing to do with Australia. Here.
I agree, Phil. Listen to the last article.
Okay. Kiwimana says what, Gary?
In reality, it's not really Manuka because the word Manuka is a Maori name for tea tree. In Australia, don't they call it jellybush?
Malulaka. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah, but the Europeans call it jellybush.
Yeah, so you got the jellybush, which we call the tea tree, which is the English name, and jellybush is their name for tea tree. And then you've got the Maori word for Manuka. Maori word for tea tree is Manuka, and then the Aboriginal word for tea tree is Melaleuca.
Exactly.
So work that out, guys.
And Sam Redmond says, I call it a tea tree. We all do. Smiley face.
Absolutely.
Good on you, Sam, trying to be peacemaker. And Phil's back. He says Australia needs to find another name for their honey. Cloned or not, Manuka is a Maori word and should only be used for New Zealand honey.
Awesome. So thanks, Phil and Sam. That's awesome. We hear you, and yes, well, we'll see how this one pans out over time.
Absolutely. And we're moving on to some positive news. A potential new tool in the battle against a bee-killing bacteria. This is an article from the Journal of Insect Science. A new study results show that inhibitors of
Panabacillus, the agonist, larvae spore
germination could provide another method to control AFB, or American foulbrood.
Oh, and wouldn't that be awesome, guys? Man, oh man, what's the block quote say, Dale?
It says, it's a beekeeper's nightmare. She lifts the lid on her carefully tended hive and is greeted with a whiff of rotting flesh. That's a bad case. Further inspection finds that the young bees of the colony, who should be plump, pearly white larvae, have melted into a puddle of brown gooish goo at the bottom of their cells. This colony is affected with American foulbrood, most likely a death sentence. And this is from Meredith Sweet Walker.
Okay, so AFB is called by Panabacillus larvae, but don't lose hope, guys.
Yes, it's a promising development in the battle against American foulbrood. If researchers find continued success, beekeepers may soon be armed with a more effective, less drastic treatment for American foulbrood, and fewer beehives will be sent to the burn pile. Because what they're finding in America is that the antibiotics they're using, which are illegal in New Zealand, by the way, are not working, and some versions of American foulbrood are tolerant to them.
Yeah, and chloroindole was an effective antagonist which fights the agonist, and that's actually a plant extract, guys. So there is hope out there.
Yeah, because what it is, the spores don't actually hatch open until they're actually inside a bee's gut. But this treatment, chloridol...
when you say hatch, it's actually germinating because it is a spore.
Yeah, germinate.
So, yeah.
But what happens is chloridol actually makes them germinate outside the bee, so they die. So this is interesting, eh?
Yeah, I think it's a great read, guys. Have a look at it. It's pretty intense, but it's actually the simplistic view is that they're finding a way to change what's going on in the cell, and it may be as simple as getting the bees to eat these products. And guess what one of the products is, Dale?
Peas.
Peas. Mushy peas, maybe. Maybe that's the answer, guys.
It could be. And there's the full scientific report there to read if you really want to read it. It's interesting. It's interesting. I enjoyed it.
So they talk about the inhibitory effect of indole analogues against Panabacillus larvae, the causal agent of American foulbrood disease. So have a look at that, guys.
Yes, good news. Let's hope they can produce something commercially about that.
Feedback, Gary?
Kevin Tinker says, very interesting. Difficult finding a natural source of this indole. Welcome discussion from anyone considering this as a complementary to standard AFB control methods.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, Kevin, and I think you're right. You know, it would be great to have more discussions about this, so that's fantastic. Okay, moving on. So why are hives damp in winter, Gary?
Moisture.
Moisture from the cluster?
But this is a great article by Ron Mischka about the moisture in hives and what you can do to combat it over the winter months. This is very relevant to our Northern Hemisphere listeners. I think we need to look into adding upper ventilation into our colonies, Margaret. That's what he's recommending.
Okay, so upper ventilation is where the heat would end up causing the ventilation, so maybe you need some lower ventilation as well.
Well, I think what happens is all the heat rises, doesn't it? And it condensates on the top and it drips on the bees. That's what's happening.
Yeah, so the idea is getting some airflow. So what does the quote there say from the article, Dale?
From the article, Ron says, in many parts of the world, he's got, I'm looking at you, England. The biggest winter kill comes from moisture, not disease or starvation. During the winter, water may collect under the hive's lid and drip down on the cluster, soaking the bees and ultimately turning them into a mouldy compost. Yes, that's intriguing. There's some really cool facts in here, that every 45 kilograms of honey produces 30 kilograms of water.
Well, that's because they have to dehydrate it, basically, don't they?
Exactly.
And they use a lot of energy to do that, so that creates heat.
And your winter hive needs to breathe?
Yes, it does. So, yeah, I don't see... I mean, that's one of the reasons why mesh boards were important too, eh?
Yep.
But you added the inspection boards so that it can be sealed off. So there's still airflow.
I think a little bit,
Yeah, and airflow. I mean, that was to do with integrated pest management, but I think a mesh board would also help with getting some air in there, as long as it's not on a wet, soaky ground. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true.
What's that other fact there, Gary?
Well, 3 to 10 grams of water are produced every hour by a colony. Quite a lot, eh?
Absolutely, and I can see it. You know, they use a lot of energy.
When it's hot in the hive, the bees go to the front and they start like fanning out, don't they?
And the fanning motion is actually pulling air into the hive, and then other bees are fanning to pull the air out of the hive.
Yeah.
So the more air they get in, the more likely they are to evaporate that. So, yeah, that's a really good article, guys, and some really good points in there. So enjoy that one.
Absolutely.
Save the bees, keep them dry.
And the next article is alarming.
Alarming amounts of nerve agent pesticides in world's honey
Test shows.
Ooh.
A study has been released that shows that 75% of the world's honey contains at least one neonicotinoid. Not really surprising with the amount that is sprayed into the environment.
Indeed. Okay, so what does that article say? It says...
Here's a quote from Dave Gilson. As well as posing a potential health hazard to humans, nerve agent pesticides can cause brain damage in bees. Beyond doubt, anyone regularly eating honey is likely to be getting a small dose of mixed neurotoxins. In terms of acute toxicity, this certainly won't kill them and is unlikely to do measurable harm. What we don't know is whether they are long-term chronic effects from a lifetime exposure to a cocktail of these and other pesticides in our honey and most other foods. Okay, and some points here. 198 samples from 6 continents were tested. 75% contained at least one neonicotinoid. And the concentrations were the highest in what areas?
North America, European and Asian samples.
Yes, and they're saying that the levels were well below the safe limits, but the question I ask is who sets these limits?
Exactly, and who's the money trail and who's benefiting from selling nerve agent honey?
I mean, the thing is, there's been no long-term studies on the effects of these pesticides on the human brain.
My question is why aren't beekeepers thinking a bit more about the consumer at the end of, who buys that jar of honey? That's a question I have, actually. Don't you think?
Yeah, well, I think the problem is that they're in the environment so prevalently that they're everywhere.
Yeah,
so
that's
how do you
true.
produce honey without it?
That's very interesting. Oh, good point.
Unless you go and live on an island.
Oh, I'd like to live on an island.
Well, we do, don't we? But even the honey from New Zealand...
Oh, yeah, we do.
Even the honey in New Zealand was found to have neonicotinoids in it. Because probably this recommendation was that what happens is they mix honey with clover honey, and the clover sometimes has neonicotinoids because the clover seeds are coated. Some of them
Even in New Zealand?
Even in New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's a bit of a concern. So where were you thinking we're eating nice raw honey? My head started hurting. Maybe I've got that neurotransmitter disease.
I think so. I hope not.
Anyway, moving on.
Let's move on to questions from you. Okay, questions from you. This is where we read a question from you. Let's open the mailbox. No questions. No questions this month, but if you've got a question, leave a message on our SpeakPipe, which is on the right-hand side of every page, or drop us an email at question@kiwimana.co.nz, or if you've got an urgent issue, join our Bees Knees Facebook group, because then you get answered by all the members there.
Absolutely, guys. So, I'm surprised that the mailbox was empty. It's probably because everyone's out working in the apiary and the other ones are on the other side of the world enjoying a nice cup of chocolate by the fire.
Yes, I've been seeing lots of pictures of fires and drinking going on, so that's good.
Ah, well, it's all about preparing for the festive season, isn't it, Gary?
Okay, this is a special section where we read a random review and we actually give the person a $30 gift voucher for kiwimana. And we've moved this to the newsletter, and this month Justin from Waihe's won it, and the certificate should be on its way, Justin. So thanks so much for your review. And yeah, we had another review today from Gilbert, and it just really touched our heart, didn't it, Dale?
Absolutely. And what did Gilbert have to say, Gary?
He said, honestly, it's not just the product, it's the service. Being a fan of the Kiwimana podcast, purchasing off them is like dealing with your next-door neighbour.
Aww,
it's fantastic. Thanks so much, Gilbert. That's awesome.
Bless. Thank you, Gilbert.
I hope everything's going well for you and your bees are building up.
That's it. Okay, Gary, so what other feedback have we had?
Okay, now we're moving on to feedback from you guys, and we've had some amazing response from Patreon. We've got 3 new supporters this month, so thanks so much, guys. It's so fantastic.
So who are these wonderful people, Dale?
It's Finn Mahia, it's Nathan Organ, and John Pad. Thanks so much, guys, for all your support, and we appreciate you joining the Kiwimana Buzz.
Awesome. Welcome to the Kiwimana Buzz.
Yes, absolutely. And the bonus show this month for you fantastic Patreons is talking about varroa mites on queen bees and why hive stands that defy the winds.
Yes, that was a good little article and very sensible too.
Yes, we're going to be talking about it in the bonus show. And if you want to become a patron, you can go kiwi.bz/banana and you can help support keep us going.
Awesome.
And the next show, moving rapidly along here.
Rapid.
And the next show is called I Am the Yappy Bee Man. This is an interview with Travis Ulbrich, better known as Yappy Bee Man, is a beekeeper and fireman from Alabama. He is a well-known bee rescuer that is often seen in bee rescue videos. He's one of the founding bee hooligans on the Bee Smart podcast. And we talked to Yappy about his philosophy about keeping honeybees in Alabama. Here's a little excerpt.
In the middle of the day, if you go out to your hive and you don't see bees coming and going, and it's right in the middle of a strong nectar flow, that is a major red flag. Bees should be coming and going all day long. But I would notice in some of these hives that there wasn't bees coming and going. So I would go and I'd look in the entrance and you would see...
Oh, what will you see?
What will we see?
You'll have to listen. But the best thing is...
Will we see a bee?
You'd have to subscribe to the show, guys, on your device or or download our app, and you'll be able to get the Yappy one that'll be coming out in a couple of weeks, all going well. And the show notes for this podcast are kiwi.bz/118. So thanks so much, guys, for being with us all year. We appreciate you guys, and we hope we'll probably release another show before Christmas with the Yappy Bee Man. All going well?
Yeah, so if you can do anything, guys, just tell your friends about us, share the app, share the joy, share the buzz.
Exactly. Well, if we don't speak to you before Christmas, guys, have a great Christmas and have a safe time with your friends and family, and we appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you in the new year if we don't talk to you since then.
Yeah, guys, Merry Christmas. See ya.
See ya.